Hello, welcome back. It's over. 3 weeks ago I was stood here about to go on an amazing motorbike adventure, and now hopefully you've watched it all. It was 4 days trying to prove that you could do a decent trip into Europe for the same amount of time that you'd spend going to Wales or Scotland, depending on where you live in the UK, of course. And I wanted to sort of do it on a budget. So this is a quick wrap-up video, and I'll talk about how much it cost, what gear we used, what went wrong, stuff you didn't see, and also, yeah, things I found out about my own personal riding kit. So it's going to be 5 minutes of me standing in a layby jabbering at the camera. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, the trip, it was amazing. It was amazing. I know it was only 4 days, but it just proved to me how much fun you can have in a reasonably short space of time. And yeah, it was only Friday to Monday that we did, but it feels like we went to Everest and back, but without dying and sledging down on a Sherpa's body. It was amazing. France, Germany, bit of Luxembourg, quite a lot of Belgium on the last day. And as you can see, it was really, really good. As I predicted when I was standing here 3 weeks ago, it was wet. It was very wet for the first 2 days, and I can't overestimate the importance of having decent waterproofs. Even if you think it's going to be sunny, prepare for the worst. This Gore-Tex jacket, the new Richa Armada Gore-Tex Pro thing, it's £1,000, but my God, it didn't let a bit of water in. Not a drop. It's a cyclist wondering what I'm doing with the camera and the tripod and the lay-by, which is a fair question. I had Richa textile trousers on that weren't Gore-Tex, but I put kind of 50 quid overproof trousers on for the whole trip and I was fine. But anyway, it rained a lot the first 2 days and it wasn't miserable because we stayed dry. If we weren't dry, it would have been cold, it would have been miserable, and those motorway miles over to the Vosges Mountains would have been awful. But anyway, we're back. I've got the post-holiday blues, the economy's in the toilet and the whole world's on fire. But hey, I've got memories and I've put them on YouTube and hopefully you've enjoyed them. Now, I've had some questions from some of you. Will I be sharing the route as a GPX file, the big one? And I'm afraid, to be a bit of a mean old bastard, I can't, because the very kind viewer that sent us the GPX files, he spent 20 years of his life putting those together, and I don't want to give away his hard work for free. So I'm sorry about that. That is a bit mean, but I've given some of the road names in the videos, so I think you can probably piece most of it together. But if you do go out there, don't ride recklessly, and let's keep those roads nice and fun. But anyway, kit. Let's talk about kit. Cardo Packtalk Edge. It was good. It was good. I've had the Cardo Packtalk Bold before and I didn't really get on with it because my voice didn't used to trigger half the time. So it's on an always send sort of function. So you've got an open channel with your mate the whole time, and my voice with the Packtalk Bold would only trigger maybe 50% of the time. I don't know if it's because I've got a deep voice or because I don't shout loud enough. This kind of had the same problem, but I've been in touch with Cardo and they've given me some tips to fix it. So I will report back on that and give a full fair review in good time. But the range was really, really impressive. Way better than my old Senna SMH10. I could go miles and miles ahead of Adam, and yeah, it stayed connected, which was brilliant. Other bits of kit. Garmin Zumo XT, the lifeline of the trip. It was faultless. I've had Garmin's before, and in the early days, about 10 years ago, they would sometimes get a bit finicky and they would crash. Now, I used uploaded routes this, as I've said, and I'd want to come off them occasionally to go and find a petrol station, and there was a little bit of faffing around you had to do that. When you found a petrol station, you had to tell it to rejoin your existing route, but it was actually quite easy to rejoin an existing route halfway around. Just faultless. I had my tunes showing on there as well. Didn't go wrong, it got very wet. It still worked. I really, really recommend it. There's another cyclist going. Right. Now, again, I'm going to do a full review on the Zumo XT, but one thing I would say is when you browse the map, on the old Garmin's, they had quite slow processors, so it was like using a 386 DX25 or something, old PC nerds, and zooming around the map, scrolling was really slow. On this, it's like using a smartphone. Really, really good. I love it. Just kind of, you forget about how good it is, really. Other things. Earplugs. Earplugs is a very boring thing to talk about. I've got these Auritech ones, which I am going to hold up to the camera. My autofocus probably isn't going to work. They are moulded to my ears. I've had them for about 2 years. They're Auritech, Auritech, and they were great apart from one bit of my left-hand one snapped off, so pulling out got quite hard, and also the left-hand one got really painful by the end of the trip. But we were doing 12-hour days most days, but it really, really hurt the inside of my left ear. As soon as I got back, I went over to Auritech. They're based near me, near Guildford, and I got the chap there to remold my left ear, and he compared my existing earplug and my new mold, and my left ear canal is completely different in shape to how it was 2 years ago. That's what having kids will do to you, because you're going like this all the time. But anyway, that was fine. Other kit, the bike. Let's talk about the bike. The KTM 1290 Super Adventure S, this is a 2021 model, with basically a few standard factory options. Top box, which I think is 47 litres or something like that, it's Auritech one. Heated gel seats, the high version in the high position, and a little screen deflector, which is a Puig one. All absolutely brilliant. I love this motorbike more than I ever have done. I'm never going to replace this apart from with whatever comes out to replace this bike. The only thing I would say about this bike, and this is a stupid thing to complain about, I wish it had the full fat Super Duke engine, because I've ridden the Super Duke quite a lot, and you really can tell the 20 horsepower deficit this has is just a lot less angry than the Super Duke are. So if they ever bring this out with a full fat Super Duke engine, I'd replace it with one of those as a car. The next thing that went wrong, my arse. Yeah, on the first day something really weird and unexpected happened. I didn't realise I had lots of layers on. I had boxer shorts, I had base layers, I had my textile trousers, I then had waterproof trousers over the top, so I was done up like a Swiss roll of moistness. And at the end of the day I thought my bum is quite sore on the left cheek, kind of near my perineum, and I took a selfie of my arse in the hotel in France that night. Didn't put it in the video because I didn't want to get banned from YouTube. And I peeled away a layer of skin from my left butt cheek. I don't know what happened, because the seat is really comfortable for me, this gel seat, but I think some of the layers had bunched together to turn into a kind of textile sandpaper, and I'd rode the whole of what you've just seen with blooded skin on my left butt cheek, and my right cheek wasn't much better, and it's taken 3 weeks to heal. Today is the first time I've ridden this bike since I got back, not because I was bored of motorbiking, but because my arse was literally in tatters. I'm not blaming the bike, I'm blaming some weird bunching of my undergarments, but I thought you'd like to know about it. You probably didn't want to know about it. Other things on the trip that we used, GoPro, Hero 9, I have a Hero 8 here usually, absolutely footless. And I forgot, I use the media mod on these, so I plug my helmet mic in there, and that takes away the waterproofing. And I kind of forgot about that, but we rode for 2 days in torrential rain, not a problem with these. Which is quite rare, because I keep wanting to find an excuse to move away from GoPro and buy the new DJI Action 3, but yeah, I don't really have an excuse. One other thing on the bike, you might notice it's chain drive. And I know lots of people don't like going touring on chain drive bikes because they've experienced the effortless nature of a shaft drive bike. I lubed it twice, it's got a centre stand, took a little can of lube with me. It was fine, and I've not cleaned this since I got back, so it's still absolutely caked in French poo. Not literally, there's another car. One last bit of kit, Kriega R30 rucksack, it's over there, perfectly waterproof, and I just wore that with a tripod and a few other bits and pieces in it. It was fine. Now, if you've watched the full road trip series, thank you very much, but you'll remember that I talked about LEAFY. There was a little leaf that got stuck in my screen the second we got on the motorway off the train in Calais, and he stayed there the whole trip, and it's still there, so I'm going to keep LEAFY on there for as long as possible. And yeah, I should probably clean my bike, but I don't really like cleaning bikes. I think they look better dirty. I'll lube the chain and make sure the correct mechanical bits are clean. But yeah, let's talk about how much this trip cost. No, I'm an alien cow. So I know what you're wanting to know. How much did that trip cost? A bit more than I thought, to be honest. I've got a little spreadsheet here, and I'm going to break it down using probably some man maths as well. So let's start with the things we booked before the holiday, which was only accommodation and the Eurotunnel. Obviously a ferry is usually a bit cheaper, but it wasn't much cheaper in this case. The Eurotunnel is way faster. So the Eurotunnel was £90 per bike return, which I think is pretty good. Not a fancy Flexi Plus ticket. That was getting a 8:20 crossing on a Friday and coming back at about 5:20 on a Monday in September. I feel like Judith Chalmers doing this, it's a bit rubbish. Or was it Craig Doyle? He was an odd one, wasn't he? Anyway, accommodation, 3 nights, staying in a mixture of reasonably expensive inner city hotels and pensions. It really averaged out quite cheap. So the first night in the Vosges Mountains, £85, divide that by 2 because it was a twin room. £64, £32 a night in the Black Forest. It was at Pension Williams, highly recommend it, go and check it out. It's run by a lovely British guy. And finally, the last night in Trier was the most expensive. That was £115, again divide by 2. So total accommodation costs were £264 for 3 nights. Divide that by 2 because I was sharing with Adam, and that is £132 per person per night. That averages out 44 quid a night, which, to be honest, is nothing. I used to do this camping every night in my early 20s, and it was a massive faff, and you save about £10 a night. So I'd just save up and go with hotels. It's much nicer, especially when you've had a long wet day. So yeah, so in total, what's that? £132 each for accommodation, 90 quid for the Eurotunnel. So it's about £210 to get to Europe and know that you've got somewhere to stay each night. Now, when we were out there, the costs did escalate a little bit because Adam and I both like our food. So we had some quite expensive meals. That steak that you saw us eat, that previous baby cow, still feel bad about that, but it was delicious. Yeah, the meals got quite expensive. I use a thing called a Revolut card when I go abroad. It's one of those pre-charged MasterCard things, and it has barely any currency conversion fees. So I stuck 250 quid on that before we went. So that's getting used for fuels, for tolls, and for food. And I burnt through that 250 quid by Sunday evening. And then I probably used another 30 quid, 40 quid getting back on the Monday. So I reckon I spent about 300 quid when I was out there on fuel, on food, on tolls. And you do spend about 50 quid on tolls doing that that awful first day across the Vosges Mountains. No, not 50 quid, more like 30 quid I would say, doing that toll stuff. So the whole trip ends up at about 500 quid, which sounds like quite a lot of money really, but we ate really nicely. We could have stayed in cheaper places and we could have not used tolls, but so what? The memories are amazing. It's so worth it. And it's one of those things that you'll be sitting there in December, in January, when it's too wet to go out and ride, and you'll be dreaming of being back on those roads, and you will get the bug. Adam wants to do it again immediately on Terry Le Daytona. So it's a real get under your skin sort of thing. And if you're like me, you end up looking at Google Maps for the whole of winter, working out where you can go next year, what different routes you want to do, what are your favourite bits, what bits would you not bother with again. And I can't wait to get back over to Europe. Hopefully I'll get the time to do it because I've really enjoyed doing the video series. Sorry I'm not a natural travel presenter, but it was a bit of a laugh, wasn't it? And thank you ever so much for watching it if you have done. And do subscribe because I'll try and do the same thing again next year. And in between then and now, I'm going to be doing bike reviews, more adventures on this, maybe a few mods and things like that. Probably not replacing it because Jesus Christ, who's got any money left? But anyway, if you've got any questions that I've not answered, leave them down below and I'll do a vlog on this in a few weeks and I'll tell you more about that. And I'm going to do a full review of the Cardo headset, full review of the Zumo coming soon. And I'm also going to do a 3,000 mile update on this because there were a few things that, you know, I've talked about them briefly. Didn't talk about the tyres. Conti Trail Attack 3s, really good in the wet, really good in the dry. They've squared off a bit and it's only done 2,500 miles, but I think that's because of the torque and the weight. But anyway, this is meant to be an outro. Thank you ever so much for watching this video series. It has been what I've dreamed of doing for years since I started doing YouTube. I've always wanted to go and share my passion for riding around Europe, and now I've done a bit of it, and I've really appreciated your kind comments and also the people pointing out, oh, you're not covered for riding on other people's bikes abroad. I was. And what was the other one? Oh, you're riding recklessly. Yeah, I was. Sorry, suck it up, I ride a KTM. But anyway, thank you for watching, see you soon. Don't unsubscribe those 2 people, I really need your help. And big thanks to Matt, subscriber Matt, for helping us with our route. I'll come and give you a hug at some point, if you want one. If you don't, I won't. It's creepy.